Imagine leaving Britain today and not returning for the next 10 years. You'd recognize the roads, the accents, the weather, but some cities, you'd barely recognize them at all. Entire neighborhoods are being built where abandoned factories once stood. New train stations are transforming forgotten districts. Skylines are rising. Waterfronts are being rebuilt. And billions of pounds are quietly reshaping Britain's cities. Most of it is happening without making national headlines. By 2035, some of the UK's biggest cities could look completely different. Let's see where that transformation has already begun. If you ask people which British city has changed the most over the last 20 years, one answer comes up again and again: Manchester. For much of the 20th century, Manchester was known as an industrial powerhouse. Cotton mills, warehouses, canals, factories. Its skyline reflected that history. Low-rise brick buildings stretching across the city. Today, that skyline tells a completely different story. Glass towers now dominate parts of the city centre. Construction cranes have become almost permanent features of the skyline. Districts like Deansgate Square have introduced clusters of skyscrapers that would have looked completely out of place a generation ago. And that's only the beginning. Projects such as Victoria North aim to deliver thousands of new homes over the coming years, while Mayfield is transforming former industrial land into a mixed-use neighbourhood, with offices, homes, and one of the city's largest new public parks. Media City continues attracting businesses from broadcasting, technology, and digital industries, creating jobs that simply didn't exist here a few decades ago. What's interesting isn't just the buildings, it's why they're appearing. Manchester has become one of Britain's fastest-growing regional economies. More businesses, more graduates staying after university, more investment, more people wanting to live close to the city centre. Every one of those changes increases demand for housing, offices, and transport. The skyline is simply the visible result. If you visited Manchester 20 years ago and visited again in 2035, you might wonder whether you were standing in the same city. But Manchester isn't Britain's biggest transformation. One city is attempting something even more ambitious. That city is Birmingham. For decades, Birmingham was often unfairly described as a place people passed through rather than stopped to explore. Today, billions of pounds are being invested to change that perception. Even before the arrival of HS2, the area surrounding the future Curzon Street station had already become one of the UK's largest regeneration zones. New offices, thousands of homes, hotels, public squares, walking routes, cycle infrastructure. Entire districts are being redesigned around a railway that aims to reshape how people move across the country. Just a short walk away, the Smithfield development is transforming land that once housed the historic wholesale markets into a brand new city quarter. Homes, retail, workspaces, green spaces, entertainment venues. It's one of the largest city centre regeneration projects currently underway in Europe. Meanwhile, Paradise Birmingham continues replacing outdated office blocks with modern commercial buildings that are attracting major employers back into the heart of the city. Then there's Digbeth. Long known for its independent businesses and creative scene, the district is rapidly evolving while trying to preserve the character that made it popular in the first place. Old warehouses are becoming cafes, studios, and apartments. Historic industrial buildings are finding entirely new purposes. It's a balancing act. Modern investment without erasing local identity. That's something cities across Britain are increasingly trying to achieve. Because simply building taller buildings isn't enough. People want neighborhoods they actually enjoy living in. Places that feel connected, walkable, lively. And Birmingham is betting that by 2035, it can become exactly that. Then there's Liverpool. For years, its waterfront told two different stories. One reflected its extraordinary maritime past. The other reflected decades of decline. Today, a third story is beginning to emerge. Then there's Liverpool. For years, its waterfront told two different stories. One reflected its extraordinary maritime past. The other reflected decades of decline. Today, a third story is beginning to emerge. One defined by regeneration. Few cities have embraced their waterfront quite like Liverpool. For generations, the docks powered one of the busiest ports in the world. As global trade changed, many of those historic docklands were left behind. Warehouses stood empty. Industrial land fell silent. Large parts of the waterfront became disconnected from the rest of the city. Now, that landscape is changed once again. The Liverpool Waters development is gradually transforming miles of former dockland into new neighborhoods with homes, offices, hotels, and public spaces. Rather than replacing Liverpool's maritime identity, the project is attempting to build around it. Historic docks remain. New buildings rise beside them. Old and new existing side by side. A few miles away, another project is already changing the city's future. Everton's new stadium at Bramley Moor Dock. Far more than simply a football stadium, it's expected to act as a catalyst for wider investment across the northern waterfront. New businesses, new visitors, new opportunities. It's a reminder that one major project rarely changes a city on its own. It's the momentum that follows which often matters most. Liverpool's Baltic Triangle tells a similar story. Once filled with warehouses and light industry, it's evolved into one of the city's fastest-growing creative districts. Independent businesses, technology companies, restaurants, apartments. The area has become an example of how former industrial land can find an entirely new purpose. What's striking about Liverpool isn't simply the scale of development, it's the confidence. For years, Regeneration focused on restoring what had been lost. Today, the focus is increasingly on building what comes next. And that change in mindset may prove just as important as any new building. While Liverpool is rebuilding its waterfront, Leeds is quietly rebuilding an entire side of the city. Cross the River Aire, and you'll find one of the UK's largest regeneration zones, the South Bank. Covering hundreds of acres, it's expected to double the size of Leeds city centre over time. For years, this part of the city was dominated by warehouses, factories, and underused industrial land. Today, cranes dominate the skyline instead. One of the centerpieces is Ayr Park, a huge mixed-use neighborhood combining homes, offices, shops, restaurants, and one of the largest new city center parks in the country. It's designed around a simple idea. People increasingly want to live, work, and socialize within the same neighborhood. Leeds has become one of Britain's leading financial and legal centers outside London. Technology firms continue expanding. Digital businesses are arriving. Professional services remain strong. That steady job growth creates demand for something every growing city eventually needs: Space. Space for homes. Space for offices. Space for people. The South Bank is Leeds' answer to that challenge. By 2035, visitors who haven't seen the city for a decade may struggle to recognize entire districts. Not because the old Leeds has disappeared, but because a completely new one has emerged alongside it. Further south, Bristol is preparing for perhaps its biggest transformation in generations. Unlike cities built around heavy industry, Bristol's growth has been driven by something different: innovation, engineering, technology, creative industries. The city has attracted businesses working in aerospace, robotics, artificial intelligence, and digital media, creating one of the strongest knowledge economies outside London. Now the city is reshaping itself to match that success. The Temple Quarter Regeneration program centers around Bristol Temple Meads Station. But this isn't simply about improving a railway station. It's about creating an entirely new district around it. Thousands of homes, modern workplaces, research facilities, public spaces, new walking and cycling routes. The aim is to reconnect areas that were once divided by railway lines and industrial land. It's a reminder that transport infrastructure often changes far more than how people travel. It changes where businesses invest, where homes are built, and ultimately, where communities grow. For Bristol, that transformation is only just beginning. By the middle of the next decade, the city around Temple Meads could feel almost unrecognizable compared with today. But perhaps the most surprising transformations aren't happening in Britain's largest cities at all. Some of the biggest changes are taking place where few people are looking. And that's where the story becomes even more interesting. But perhaps the most surprising transformations aren't happening in Britain's largest cities at all. Some of the biggest changes are taking place where few people are looking. And that's where the story becomes even more interesting. Take Sunderland. For decades, it was often viewed through the lens of its industrial past. Shipbuilding, coal, heavy manufacturing. Industries that once defined the city had either shrunk dramatically or disappeared altogether. For many people, Sunderland became a place associated with what had been lost. Today, the conversation is beginning to change. At the heart of that change is Riverside Sunderland, one of the UK's most ambitious urban regeneration projects. Instead of simply replacing old buildings, the aim is to reshape the entire city centre. New offices, new homes, public parks, riverside walkways, education facilities, modern workplaces. It's a long-term vision rather than a single development. The idea is simple. Create a city centre where people don't just work. They choose to live there too. Investment from companies such as Nissan has already helped reshape the region's economy. Now the city itself is beginning to reflect that confidence. Sunderland won't suddenly become another Manchester. And it doesn't need to. Its transformation is about becoming the best version of itself. That's increasingly the goal for cities across Britain. A similar story is unfolding further north. Glasgow has spent years reinventing itself. Many visitors still picture the city through its industrial heritage. The shipyards, the Clyde, heavy engineering. That history remains an important part of Glasgow's identity, but it no longer defines its future. Large sections of the Clyde waterfront are continuing to evolve, with new housing, offices, hotels, and public spaces gradually reconnecting the river to the city. Innovation districts are attracting research, technology, and life sciences. Former industrial land is finding entirely new purposes. What's remarkable about Glasgow isn't how quickly it's changing, it's how deliberately it's changing. Rather than chasing flashy skyscrapers, much of the focus has been on improving neighborhoods, public transport, universities, and riverside communities. The result is less dramatic than some cities, but perhaps more sustainable. Because successful cities aren't measured only by the height of their buildings, they're measured by how well people live in them. Across the border in Wales, Cardiff is following its own path. For years, Cardiff Bay became one of Britain's best-known regeneration stories. Now, attention is turning back towards the city centre. Projects around Central Quay and the wider station area aim to create new homes, offices and public spaces while improving connections across the capital. Like many successful cities, Cardiff understands something important. Modern regeneration isn't just about construction. It's about creating places where people actually want to spend time. Wide pavements, green spaces, independent businesses, reliable public transport. Cities increasingly compete on quality of life just as much as economic opportunity. Cardiff is betting that by 2035, those things will matter more than ever. Newcastle is changing too. But unlike Manchester or Birmingham, much of its transformation is happening quietly. Walk through Pilgrim Street today, and you'll see cranes where outdated buildings once stood. New offices are attracting major employers. Historic buildings are being restored rather than demolished. The nearby Stevenson Quarter continues bringing new homes, hotels, and commercial space into an area that was once largely overlooked. What's impressive about Newcastle is the balance it's trying to achieve. Protecting one of Britain's most distinctive historic city centres while creating space for future growth. It's a difficult balance, but one that more cities are now attempting. Because increasingly, regeneration isn't about replacing history, it's about building around it. If all these cities have one thing in common, it's this: they're no longer trying to become another London. For decades, success was often measured by how closely other cities could imitate the capital. Today, that thinking has changed. Manchester is building on technology and media, Birmingham on connectivity and business, Liverpool on its waterfront, Leeds on finance and professional services, Bristol on innovation, Cardiff on quality of life, Sunderland on long-term regeneration. Each city is finding its own identity. And that's making Britain's urban landscape more diverse than it's been for generations. By 2035, the biggest change may not be taller skylines or larger stations. It may be something much more important. A country where opportunity is spread more evenly than before, where people no longer feel they have to move to one city to build a successful career. Because Britain's future won't be built in one place. It will be built across dozens of cities, each evolving in its own way. Some changes will be obvious. Others will happen so gradually that people barely notice them. Until one day, they look around and realize they're standing in a city they almost don't recognize. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't miss our next one, where we'll explore why Britain's high streets are changing forever and what they'll look like by the end of the next decade.